Mentale, le cas de la Bosnie et de l'Herzégovine. Une conférence-débat qui regroupe plusieurs intervenants. Donc pour nous, au Club Suisse de la Presse, c'est évidemment un plaisir et un honneur que d'accueillir cette rencontre. Je tiens aussi à saluer la présence du Conseiller d'État, Monsieur Mauro, Poggia. Mais je vais tout de suite passer la parole à Madame Alonso, Lormand, qui pilote le débat. Mais avant de le faire, je vais encore distribuer un petit souvenir du Club de la Presse aux différents intervenants. Il y a notre publication à l'occasion de 20 ans. Merci. Qui réunit aussi une personnalité ici. Ces dernières années. Voilà, ça fait. Et puis je passe la parole à Madame Alonso Lormand pour l'ouverture du débat, la présentation de la thématique.
Voilà. Merci beaucoup. Bonsoir à toutes et tous. Soyez les bienvenus encore une année de plus à cet événement organisé par les services de la solidarité internationale des cantons de Genève. Nous allons, pendant la prochaine heure, 1h30, partager avec vous un nouveau projet soutenu grâce au Fonds cantonal de solidarité internationale. Avant de passer la parole au conseiller d'État, je voulais juste vous dire d'un point de vue vraiment très pratique que vous avez vu, nous avons 4 présentations. Il y en aura en anglais et en français. Donc vous avez des casques pour les traductions. Il n'y aura pas de présentations dans d'autres langues. Donc je tenais à préciser, ça sera en anglais et français. Mais vous avez des casques à disposition. Donc on a un long programme, mais nous avons l'honneur d'avoir avec nous le conseiller d'État, Monsieur Mauro Poggia, qui va nous dire quelques mots d'ouverture et que je remercie d'avoir pu se libérer pour être avec nous.
Voilà. Madame la directrice du service de la solidarité internationale, Monsieur le président d'Action pour la santé mentale, Mesdames et Messieurs, les représentants de la médecine humanitaire et santé mentale, Mesdames et Messieurs. Tout le plaisir et l'honneur sont pour moi, pour vous souhaiter la bienvenue ce soir en mon nom personnel, au nom du département de l'emploi et de la santé que j'ai le plaisir de diriger, mais aussi au nom du Conseil d'État de la République et canton de Genève. Je voudrais rappeler pour commencer que chaque année, le service organise un événement comme celui-ci dans le but de présenter une action de solidarité internationale soutenue par les fonds du canton. Il faut quand même le dire. En termes d'engagement, le canton de Genève a consacré 17 millions en 2018 pour la solidarité internationale. C'est beaucoup, mais c'est encore pas assez par rapport aux besoins dans ce secteur. Ce soutien reflète l'esprit humanitaire, l'esprit humaniste et solidaire du canton, ce qu'on appelle aussi parfois l'esprit de Genève. Je voudrais exprimer au nom du Conseil d'État la reconnaissance du canton envers les acteurs qui incarnent et donnent corps à cet esprit de Genève. Le CICR, bien sûr, les institutions de la Genève internationale, la société civile et tous, vous et nous, mesdames et messieurs. En 2018, le service de la solidarité internationale, le SSI, a choisi de présenter un projet porté par la coopération suisse en Bosnie et consacré à la santé mentale en Bosnie et Herzégovine. Dans ce cadre, le canton de Genève a, par l'entremise du SSI, activement participé à la coordination du travail impliquant 4 cantons suisses, Berne, Jura, Fribourg et bien sûr Genève, dans le cadre de ce projet. Le projet s'est développé principalement grâce à l'expertise technique des hôpitaux universitaires de Genève et la mise à disposition d'experts provenant de divers cantons. Ceci a permis la formation et l'échange avec les professionnels de la Bosnie et Herzégovine. Je voudrais saluer ce choix en rappelant combien ce pays, victime d'un conflit dévastateur, continue d'en subir les effets plus de 20 ans après. Une grande partie de la population de Bosnie et Herzégovine, et tout particulièrement les civils, a été affectée psychologiquement par cette guerre, Bombardements, bien sûr, mais aussi état de siège, fuite, perte du lieu de vie, violence, agression, et j'en passe. De plus, les psychologues observent que les traumatismes se transmettent désormais aux nouvelles générations nées bien après le conflit. Il faut rappeler que la promotion de la santé mentale est une démarche qui nous concerne tous. En Suisse, une personne sur 5 souffre actuellement de problèmes psychiques, selon une étude publiée le 10 octobre dernier par la Fondation Promente Sana à l'occasion de la journée de santé mentale. Dans notre canton, qui, Dieu merci, n'a pas subi les traumatismes des territoires dont nous allons parler, les troubles psychiques concernent près d'un Genevois, d'une Genevoise sur 4. Les coûts humains et sociétaux sont extrêmement élevés. Ils représentent l'une des atteintes à la santé les plus invalidantes, avec parfois, malheureusement, des suicides à la clé. La santé mentale constitue donc un enjeu essentiel et occupe donc une place prioritaire, notamment dans le concept cantonal de promotion de la santé et de prévention Horizon 2030. Je voudrais remercier une fois encore le service de la solidarité internationale ainsi que les HUG de leur engagement, ainsi que toutes les personnes qui ont soutenu ce projet. Je voudrais remercier les intervenantes et les intervenants de ce soir et je vous souhaite à toutes et à tous une excellente soirée. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
Voilà, donc nous allons commencer maintenant à parler de ces projets. Juste un peu en introduction, chaque année, en général, on présente des projets qui sont portés par des associations genevoises. Cette année, comme ça a été dit, c'est un projet un peu particulier parce que cette fois, c'est un projet qui est porté par la coopération suisse, par la DDC, et dans lequel 4 cantons ont décidé de travailler ensemble pour porter un peu les savoir-faire, pour porter l'expérience des institutions cantonales avec les partenaires en Bosnie et Herzégovine dans les domaines de la santé mentale. C'est aussi un peu particulier dans le sens qu'on est toujours dans des projets en Afrique, en Amérique latine, en Asie. Cette année, on est en Bosnie-Herzégovine, on est à quelques heures de voiture de chez nous. C'est vraiment un peu différent, mais pour montrer qu'aujourd'hui, de toute façon, les besoins sont un peu partout et que les réponses, si ne sont pas toujours les mêmes partout, nous avons ici, en Suisse et surtout à Genève aussi, des personnes et des institutions capables de répondre à ces besoins des terrains. Alors, la première présentation de la soirée va nous donner un peu une idée générale de ce contexte des projets en Bosnie-Herzégovine, mais aussi de l'engagement suisse et de l'engagement des cantons de Genève dans cette région depuis plusieurs années. Pour cela, je vais passer la parole au premier intervenant de cette soirée, le docteur Nicolas Perone, qui a été le conseiller technique de ces projets pendant plus de 8 ans. Le docteur Perone était spécialiste en médecine interne et en médecine tropicale, mais aussi en épidémiologie. Il a rejoint le département de médecine communautaire des hôpitaux universitaires de Genève en 2000 et en 2001, il est parti en Bosnie, à Sarajevo, avec sa famille, où il a vécu pendant 4 ans à travailler pour le programme de la coopération suisse qu'il a dirigé dans le secteur des soins de santé primaire. Il a dirigé un projet de développement d'un modèle de mise en œuvre de la médecine des familles dans 3 régions et 4 cantons de la Bosnie-Herzégovine. Et actuellement, il est en charge de différents projets qui visent à améliorer l'interface entre les hôpitaux universitaires de Genève et les niveaux de soins de santé primaire des cantons, avec les performances aussi des systèmes ambulatoires cantonaux et la coordination avec les pharmacies des cantons. Je vais passer donc la parole à Nicolas Perone pour cette première présentation.
Ok, voilà. Bonsoir et merci à la Solidarité d'avoir organisé cet événement. Il faut savoir que les hôpitaux universitaires de Genève ont développé une collaboration de longue haleine avec la Bosnie-Herzégovine parce qu'on a fêté nos 20 ans de projet en commun avec la Bosnie-Herzégovine. Et là, avec ces diapos, on va survoler quelques-uns de ces projets que nous avons menés et que nous continuons à mener. Mais avant ça, quelques diapos sur la Bosnie-Herzégovine. Donc, comme vous le savez, c'est un pays superbe et ceux qui ont voyagé là-bas pourront en témoigner. C'est un pays avec une très grande diversité culturelle et religieuse et avec une complexité, on va dire, politique. Ici, vous voyez, c'est la carte de la Bosnie-Herzégovine. Donc, on n'est pas très loin de la Suisse. Hein. Donc, ici, par rapport à la Suisse, en voiture, vous pouvez vous y rendre. Juste à côté de l'Italie, à travers la mer Adriatique, la Bosnie est divisée en deux entités politiques. Au nord, la République srpska avec Banja Luka et au sud, la Fédération de Bosnie-Herzégovine avec Sarajevo. Comme vous savez, une guerre dévastatrice a décimé le pays et ses habitants. En 1996, les accords de Dayton ont mis un terme à cette guerre et comme conséquence, on voit plusieurs choses. Donc déjà, un pays qui est dévasté avec une économie qui est sur les genoux. Beaucoup de professionnels de la santé qui sont partis. Certains ont été blessés, d'autres ont été tués. Des structures de santé qui sont endommagées et tous ces professionnels de santé qui n'ont pas eu d'accès à de la formation en fait, pendant de nombreuses années. Donc c'est dans ce contexte que le ministère du canton, le ministère de la Santé du canton de Sarajevo et les hôpitaux universitaires de Genève font un partenariat avec un premier projet qui vise à élaborer et à mettre en place un cours pour les médecins de famille et les infirmières. Donc c'est un cours très particulier parce que c'est un cours interprofessionnel qui est mené pour la première fois et qui rencontre un très grand succès puisque très rapidement, le cours va s'étendre dans le reste de la Bosnie-Herzégovine. Ici, peut-être c'est un peu petit, mais il y a 4 centres. Donc le premier centre de formation qui a été créé, c'est celui de Sarajevo-Hrelja. Ensuite, on a fait un deuxième centre qui est à Dženita, un troisième qui est à Doboj et finalement à Poggia. En parallèle, un deuxième projet qui est un projet qui vise la réorganisation du système de santé avec la mise en place du service de médecine de famille se fait dans toutes ces régions-là, avec les petites maisons sont des ambulantas, qui sont des structures de soins primaires, et les plus grandes sont des polycliniques. Voilà. Très rapidement, en fait, on aura non seulement la reprise des activités par nos contreparties bosniaques, c'est-à-dire pour les cours, mais aussi pour l'organisation des projets ou la réalisation des projets, avec la création d'une fondation qui s'appelle la Fondation Famille, qui est une fondation locale qui va prendre et gérer les projets en partenariat avec les hôpitaux universitaires de Genève. Ici, un projet par rapport à la promotion de la santé avec la lutte contre le tabac. Un autre projet très important qui a été créé, qui vise à renforcer l'infirmière au niveau des soins de santé primaires avec différents éléments. Le premier, c'est définir mieux le rôle de l'infirmière et la régulation. La deuxième, c'est la formation au niveau universitaire de ces infirmières. Et le troisième, c'est la mise en place de soins curatifs et préventifs. Donc ici, vous voyez une infirmière à domicile et ici, au niveau d'un jardin d'enfants. Un autre projet très important qui est un projet qui est venu suite à une demande des municipalités qui voyaient des patients en fin de vie mourir à domicile mais dans des soins en fait difficiles avec beaucoup de souffrance. Et là en fait de nouveau les Hugues ont répondu à cet appel en mettant en place des formations pour ces médecins et ces infirmières pour améliorer l'accès aux médicaments antalgiques, antidouleurs donc, et aussi pour mettre en place un réseau de soutien pour ce qui est de la structure sociale avec des volontaires. Voilà, donc on arrive à la santé mentale que Dženita va vous détailler par la suite. Comme vous savez, la situation au niveau de la santé mentale au niveau mondial montre que les choses s'aggravent. En fait, la prévalence pour certaines maladies va en augmentant. Ici, vous avez en 1990 la dépression, je ne sais pas si vous arrivez à lire, qui est classée top 4 sur les maladies les plus prévalentes, puis qui est estimée à monter en 2020 en deuxième position. Donc une prévalence qui monte avec un fardeau de la maladie qui monte aussi. Par ailleurs, en parallèle, des budgets alloués à la santé qui sont tout à fait insuffisants. Ici, vous voyez une stratification. Donc ça, c'est pour les pays en fait à haut revenu. moyens et bas revenus, vous voyez qu'effectivement, ces pays-là ont très peu de moyens à investir dans la santé mentale. Et ce n'est pas seulement en raison du PNB, mais si vous le rattachez, vous faites un ratio, vous voyez que cette proportion reste insuffisante, même par rapport au PNB dans ces pays-là. Puis le troisième élément, c'est les conséquences de la guerre. Donc, comme vous savez, la dépression et le syndrome de stress post-traumatique a évidemment été augmenté du fait de la guerre. On a d'autres populations qui sont très à risque et qui sont vulnérables, comme les populations âgées ou les populations qui ont été déplacées à l'interne du pays, et les populations des adolescents qui ont des comportements à risque avec des consommations de substances addictives qui sont aussi à risque. Et c'est dans ce contexte donc qu'est né le projet Santé mentale que va vous présenter ma collègue Dženita. Voilà, merci.
Merci pour cette entrée en matière. Donc maintenant, on va passer au projet proprement dit. On a déjà parlé que c'était un partenariat entre la DDC et les cantons de Jura, Berne, Fribourg et Genève. Les cantons se sont engagés principalement pour fournir les compétences techniques et stratégiques et mobiliser les différents experts des institutions cantonales suisses en fonction des besoins identifiés sur le terrain. Alors la présentation va surtout se centrer sur les acquis grâce à cette expérience, à ces participations des différents cantons dans les projets. Le projet est porté en Bosnie-Herzégovine par une association qui s'appelle XY et qui travaille dans les deux entités de Bosnie-Herzégovine et République srpska. And for that, we are lucky to have with us today Dženita, associé, who is the Directrice of the Mental Health Project. She holds a master's degree in gender studies and is currently a PhD student at the Sociology Department of the Faculty of Political Science of Sarajevo. Experienced team leader and team manager, as well as a training in the field of human rights and gender equity, she has an important number of publications on related issues. Dženita, it's a pleasure to have you here. Please, you have the floor.
Yes. Thank you very much, Maria. It is my great pleasure to be here. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Nicolas, for making this great introduction and to mentioning some of the important issues that are today prevalent also when we speak about mental health. I'm going to try to tell us what the project of Mental Health Project is doing to actually respond to these issues today. So a little bit about the country context. Bosnia and Herzegovina, we've seen these pictures. The map that I'm showing here is the map showing little red dots that are community mental health centers. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, there are 74 community mental health centers, and there are 3,810,000 people, which means that community mental health center is accessible to almost every citizen of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Some of the general facts of Bosnia and Herzegovina, maybe I do not need to mention them. Total expenditure on health, GDP, not very much. Disability adjusted life, these are the facts behind, these are the data, the numbers behind, and behind those people are, those numbers are people, of course, I'm going to focus on. So the mental health project in Bosnia and Herzegovina has started actually immediately during the war, because the war was, of course, marked by great devastation, which meant that also hospital and other health facilities were also devastated in those areas where there were bombing and war actions. So basically, the authorities of Bosnia and Herzegovina immediately used the chance to to build back better, to actually start the reform of mental health. That's been going on since then. Key strength of the project, of the context in Bosnia and Herzegovina is that the mental health project was actually continuity of the reform started then in 1996. And this reform shifted focus from long-term institutionalization, definitely, but also putting patients in center towards rehabilitation, recovery orientation at the community mental health level. Community mental health centers are at the primary health care level, which is also very important in terms of their accessibility. Legal and institutional framework was there to be changed at the time because that was a kind of new country also. So that opportunity was definitely used to change the legislation in accordance immediately with the EU legislation and other relevant international standards, even many years before Bosnia and Herzegovina is even looking at becoming a member of EU. The legislative framework was there set up in order to support protection of persons, protection of their mental, protection of their human rights, of course, with people with mental disabilities, both in the institutions, in hospitals, also at large. Law on protection of rights of persons with mental health was considered even advanced at the time when it was introduced because it offered a high level of protection of human rights of the persons. Of course, in practice, it is not. The law is one thing always, and its implementation is never really ideal. So there were many things to be done. So policy and strategic orientation towards reforming mental health services was already there. There was and there is still a high commitment of health authorities throughout Bosnia and Herzegovina toward reforming the services primarily. Network of mental health user associations is also rather big and strong, and at one point this year we were in Moldova, for example, and they said we have many similarities in the way we are implementing our projects, but please tell us how you have 18 or 19 or over 20 at the moment mental health user associations who are really strong non-governmental associations, advocates, very big advocates of their rights, and also participants in many activities that are done through the project. I'm going to say a few words about that later. So of course there are still many challenges, like insufficient alternative services for persons with mental and also intellectual disabilities. At the moment, there are about 1,500 persons who are still in long-term institutions. Some of them are definitely do not need to be there for their health reasons, but more for social reasons. And this is the issue that Bosnia and Herzegovina is tackling now. Also, lack of housing facilities for some kind of supported houses, transitional solutions. Also, stigmatization is still the big problem. We have still families who are stigmatized, and also who stigmatize persons who have mental health problems. Also, we have present discrimination still in health institutions and also in general. Although we have Bosnia and Herzegovina has introduced strong laws on prohibition of discrimination and sanctions, but it is still a big issue. In general, unfavorable, of course, socio-economic situation of persons, high unemployment rate. Even those in a country where there are high rates of unemployment, it is even more difficult for persons with experience of mental health, with experience of hospitalization, to find a job and sustain their life. So about the project, as this has been mentioned so far, so the project started in 2010. It is generally supported by the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. And also we had this excellent cooperation and support by Swiss cantons of Geneva, Bern, Fribourg and Jura. Also, that was the Association XY is an implementing agency. That's a non-governmental agency, but the setup of the organization of the project is very interesting because it is really government-driven reform and implemented by a non-governmental agency, all working towards the same vision. Also, implementation of Bosnia and Herzegovina mental health strategies. Strong commitment and ownership by health authorities and health professionals is there, which is really key, a key factor in its success. And what is also important, and there are no parallel structures, so this is the actual support for the institutions, health institutions already there. So project has been active in all 4 important areas, changing administrative, basically supporting the government in changing administrative and legislative framework, and this is the process still going on. Human resources development, this has been probably the strongest focus of the project, and enhancing intra and intersectoral collaboration, and also anti-stigma and mental health service user association support. And I am really glad to say that Swiss cantons have supported projects in all 4 areas of its interventions, and probably the anti-stigma mental health service user association support and also anti-stigma activities and human resources development were the most important areas where where the project got expertise from the Swiss cantons. So the contribution of the cantons, and I'm focusing here on the results because this is the eighth year of the projects, and there are also some results of the work. So occupational therapy and mental health, there was partnership institution. It was important, the design of this support of the Swiss cantons was actually to exchange good practices, not only focusing one way, not only as support one direction, support from Switzerland to Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also the other way around, focusing on also creating links between the institutions and also on capacity building. So all these in all these areas that I'm mentioning here, there were some study visits, very important, consisting of the representatives of government, of health institutions, and also of service users, who had the chance to see good practice here in Switzerland and to actually use it, as we had today. Svetlana and I had a beautiful day today. We went to see, it's difficult for me to pronounce the name of the Egwert, sorry for my French. So it's always something new to see and to bring back with us. So this is basically the principle on which the support and the exchange are functioning. So the partner, as you see, I'm not going to read the entire slide. So you can see that there was the cooperation was designed in a way to actually find appropriate institution and professionals and experts in Switzerland who would, according to the needs of the project. So it was very important that basically the expertise that was provided by Swiss experts was already recognized in the project itself. So it was kind of tailor-made expertise that really, at the end, contributed very much to the results of the project. So I think it is in a way kind of unique. So there was great partnership and friendship, and I'm using this opportunity to thank the international solidarity first of all, but also to all these friends and colleagues, Maria, Nicolas, Beatrice, also to Emir. Emir is here. also, and Valerie and all others who have really helped in finding the expertise in Switzerland that contributed very much. So occupational therapy started basically when the project designed occupational therapy program together with Swiss experts. There were no occupational therapists in Bosnia and Herzegovina in mental health who were actually applying this, who were working according to the principle towards recovery of users and using some of appropriate instruments or methods in order to preparation. They were not preparing the individual plans for users. So it all started as a training that lasted for 1 year, and it was provided by health faculties, and at the end 127 mental health nurses. The decision was to actually for nurses, graduated nurses, because to graduated nurses to become occupational therapists, actually to specialize in occupational therapy in mental health, because they were anyway doing this occupational therapy without appropriate, of course, knowledge and skills at the time. So this is something that has been very successful, and already there are persons who have shown about 70% of recovery after being involved in the therapy after six months at 6 months point of measurement. And it's been continuing because the interventions usually start by training, and then the trainees, when they graduate, they receive on-site support, and they are never left alone. So the new service, because this is about introducing new service, innovative services that do not easily become practice, they receive support at least for 1 year or 2 years in order to be really well established in providing such service. So this is how it was done at one of the amphitheaters. Then also nursing documentation, that was also quite new. It was what they called the Santé, and this was very good experience, and it was also witnessed by Miss Zagranda and Miss Marcus as also very new and inspiring experience, because it was also at the end after 2 missions in Bosnia and Herzegovina and workshops with the nursing associations, they also brought back some ideas of how to continue with peer education for nurses. And this nursing documentation that was created at the time and also practiced is now part of the standards for accreditation of the community mental health centers, and also was introduced as obligatory nursing documentation by implementing legislations. Also, prevention programs in mental health were also conducted. There was help by Anja Mailar and Dr. Patrick Hemmerle. Also, they were lectures and workshops for psychiatrists and psychologists, very specific with the presentation of the successful programs already implemented in Switzerland. It was well received. The comments from the professionals in Bosnia and Herzegovina was, it is very difficult for us to specialize in prevention of suicide. We basically have to do everything. So, but it was extremely useful for them. And also a program for adolescents was created at the time, and it is still being implemented in schools, strengthening protective factors in school, and the effects of such program are very good. Also, reduction of discrimination and social exclusion of mental health service users. We had the honor of expertise, help, assistance, consultations, friendship from Professor Norman Sartorius, and I wish to thank him and also to thank the international solidarity for enabling it. We've been together for how long, Professor? for 3 or 4 years. So it was very difficult to enumerate all the key activities and results that Professor Sartorius helped us achieve. So basically, we think that the biggest success, and Professor Sartorius is I think, going to say something about that, is that stigma has been reduced in a sense that community mental health center is now regarded as service as any other service, as that people go there for minor mental health issues in many communities, not everywhere. Families have become closer to the idea of supporting the members of their families with mental health problems, seeking, they know where to seek help. And also associations, persons with mental health issues recognize that they have that strength is in them, and then when they associate, when they get together around program which is well developed, they have learned how to develop those programs, how to implement them, evaluate them, so they can move on. Actually, they never go back after being part of one of such programs. So basically, this is another slide on the results of the collaboration with Professor Sartorius. So they directly resulted in social inclusion and better quality of life for over 800 persons, and this is a large number of persons, because we always speak about every individual whose life has changed for better in certain aspect. So the topic of mental health has received a higher public priority. The project has been measuring and evaluating response by public after certain events that also Professor Sartorius was part of, public events, media events. So this is also very important, and also persons with mental health are now recognized as participants in the mental health reform. One of the conference held on the World Mental Health Day, and also, again, discrimination programs, and one of also some pictures from some of the events. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dženita, for this complete presentation of the project. We'll have time at the end to have some discussions, questions, commentaries on the presentations. But now, you know, I had the opportunity to visit the project last February, and I went to Banja Luka, and I visited the association Together, which provides support for families and individuals with mental disorders. And I met Svetlana, and I told myself that if at any time we're going to present this project in Switzerland, I should bring her here. Not only because she's the best ambassador that we could have for the project, but also because she's very active on this association Together, and very much engaged on patients' rights. Svetlana is a lawyer by training, but she's also a professional volley player and a trainer of activities advocating for the protection of rights of persons with mental health experience. Svetlana, it's just a pleasure to have you here. And, yeah. Yeah.
Madame et Monsieur, did I say it right? I don't know. Bonjour, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For the beginners, my English is not that advanced and not that exquisite like in Dženita's case, but I'm going to do my best. Why I choose English? Because I could speak on my own language, but then all of you would have to have those earphones, and I wouldn't like that for one reason. Something will be lost. And do you know what? Emotion. My emotions cannot be translated to you. My words can, but my emotions cannot. My name is Svetlana Opačić. I'm 34. I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm a lawyer by vocation, and I'm an activist of raising awareness about mental health issues and problems that we're having in Bosnia. I'm also a person who had experienced depression. I'm standing here in front of you fighting one big animal, one big demon right now. It's anxiety. We are all having it. I know that. Sometimes, somewhere, but anxiety is always there following me step to step. But I'm going to tell you a little story about my life. I will say only a few sentences more about me. And then I will tell you the story named From Walls to New Roles. I didn't mean that it will be a rhyme. It's just by accident. I'm currently a member of Citizen Association Together, Zajedno, from Banja Luka. It's a very symbolic name because it's gathering people with different mental health problems and issues. It's a daily center. We have a lot of different activities there. And first, I was a member. I was in institution, in hospital, depressed, and I came there still depressed, and I will tell you later why I was still depressed after releasing from hospital. And I was participating in some activities, like a little bit of singing, a little bit of working some crafts, writing, drawing, and my energy was on its worst. But now I work there as a public relation person. I'm engaged there as a public relation person. I'm a member of self-advocacy team. I'm a president of self-advocacy team. And because of all of that, because of that path with the depression and anxiety, I'm here in front of you. That's just how it is. I was having earlier a very rich career. In my rich career as a lawyer, I was doing a lot of stuff, a lot of different jobs in lawyers' offices, and well good paid jobs. And I was recognizable in my local community as a good lawyer. But there's one job that I don't even consider a job, that there's no money who can pay that, and that's being an activist. I would never ask for money, big salary, for the things that I'm doing every day, every minute of my life. In the streets, in the coffee shops, everywhere where I'm going, I'm talking about mental health. I'm talking about how there's a light, always, always when you're down. I was so down, I was having my pills in front of me, like putting them out of my boxes and thinking that this is the end. I cannot stand this anymore. I'm being very open and transparent always, and you also deserve the truth. Because in Bosnia, we don't have a lot of people who are openly talking about this because of stigma and discrimination, and people are getting fired because of those stuff. It's very hard. I was fired when I was in hospital. It was just the lawyer came and she was like, I was working at her office. She was like, I don't want you to work with me anymore. Why? Well, and then she gave me the story, fake story, of course. you will be back when you feel better. And I was really depressed. I was in hospital. So I felt discrimination, and I'm feeling stigma back then, and I'm feeling stigma all the time. When I'm doing public speeches, when I'm giving interviews, when I'm writing my blog about depression and mental health issues and problems and discrimination, it's always, why are you doing that? Why? You're not gonna have any job anytime soon. The employer will say, well, you're sick. I'm not gonna be your employer. I'm not gonna be your boss. You're always gonna be away. So it's very challenging to be an activist in Bosnia and Herzegovina and to have some respect for that. And I'm also a member of an expert group delegated by Ministry of Health and Social Welfare of Republika Srpska, the smaller entity in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We are changing the law who protects the rights and freedoms of those in need, people like me, people who are experiencing or had experienced problems with mental health. So it's been a great honor because it's the first time. The law is 14 years old, never been changed in 14 years. The world is progressing, the world is changing, and we're not changing our laws. It's tragic. In 14 years, not one amendment. And we're having white book, green book, this convention, that convention, and our law is standing. So it's been a great honor to be a member because I'm not employee of Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. I'm the first person who's like invited from Citizen Association and invited to this group. We were talking about using a physical force in mental health institutions on that board of this expert group. And lawyers are saying this, they're saying that, and I was like, you know, our law says you can be only like changed with chains, like on like this or like this to your bed. They can control you in that way. If you're aggressive, if you're having some attacks. And I was in this position with something like chains wrapped around my hands. And I was in this position for 12 hours in hospital. That hurted a lot. Not only physically, because it's very hurtful, because I'm in this position. I have to sleep. It's night. And it's all because I had not any kind of attack connected with my mental health. It's because I had epileptic attack. Epileptic attack. It was strong, I guess. I was out of conscious. But it's not fair. It's not fair to do that to people. They were not checking my vital functions. They were not checking my blood pressure. And the law says they have to do that. They were not asking, how are you feeling? Does it hurt? But in one side, we have this physical pain. Okay, it's going to go. But what's the most painful thing in that is soul pain. You're feeling like an animal. And now when we're changing the law, I had one suggestion and many of professionals were like saying yes to that suggestion. It's like what Dženita was saying, like ask us when we're in the good phase. What do we want when we're in a bad phase? If I'm bad, and now I can say, please sedate me. You can do sedation. I'm willing. Please sedate me. Don't do that with my hands or legs. It's hurting. It's painful. It's trauma. the trauma enough is to be in hospital, but that's extra. That's extra. So we're going to change that law, and it's going to be better. When I was about 7, I started first grade. I was in Bihać, my hometown, and I was pretty shy, introvert, sensitive child. And my parents took me to a school psychologist, and he was like, yeah, she's an introvert, she's very emotional, she's very bright, sharp, intelligent, but we're not going to treat this condition. It's going to be untreated. She's just like that. She has a big imagination, she's living in her own world, and let her be. The consequences of that decision that one man made that day were anxiety, depression, identity crisis, and everything that was in the future. Then there was war, and we were forced to go from Bihać, my hometown, to Banja Luka, where I'm living for last 25 years. My dad was on the battlefield. My mom was jobless. We were living at relatives. Relatives didn't want us there. And Mom was searching for a job. She finally found it. War was over. Dad was back. Dad was never the same. I'm always saying it's very hard to translate it on English. When he was leaving to war, he was my dad. And when he came back, he was my father. So he was like a different person, much more serious person. So Dad was back, Mom found a job, we were changing apartments from one to another, being refugees in our own town. And then we finally settled. They were getting loans from banks, so it's been better. And then I decided in Banja Luka, when I saw the children are, like in American movies, divided on those who are popular and those who are not popular, I was like, I guess, intelligent, but that was not a good decision. Intelligent enough to say, I'm gonna create alter ego, and I'm gonna be that person. And I was creating somebody else. I was being extrovert. I was being like hyper, let's go do this, let's go do that, in debating club, playing sports. I was always doing something energetic. But when I was home in my own four walls, I was still being shy and introvert and crying a lot. And I was playing a role in my own life. I was being an actor in my own life for more than 20 years. It's very hard to be an actor and to get out of that role because it became a part of me. By default, I'm pretty shy. I'm even shy now. I'm still introvert. I'm still sensitive and empath. I care a lot. I'm anxious, and it's part of me. So it's okay not to be okay, but a song is saying about that, Jessie J. And but I didn't know that back then. So I was living with that alter ego all during high school, and I was playing volleyball. I was always surrounded by people. I was like the popular one. But back home, I was like quiet. So university, I was getting my law degree, still like shiny, happy people, living with alter ego. And then I was having my first job, and I was, after month there, working as a boss. And I was only 25, 24. And then I had my first like panic attacks, anxiety attacks, not depression still. And I was like, I have to have some help. And I was at my family doctor's, and she had to give me this note to go to see a psychiatrist. And I was like, hello, I'm feeling very, very bad. Can you give me a note to psychiatrist? And she was like, no, you look too good to be that bad. Family doctors are like that in Bosnia. They are choosing, they are like saying, no, not bad enough. You have to cry. You have to be without your makeup and without your dress. You have to look dirty and pale and have these dark circles around your eyes, and you have to cry. Yeah, you have to cry, and that's condition number one. And then I will send you to psychiatrist or psychologist. So our struggles with our family doctors are unmeasurable. But finally, I was pretty stubborn, and she gave me that note. And my first visit, it was like, okay, those are the meds. See you in a month or two. And this went like this: control checks on every month and a half. I didn't know back then that classical psychotherapy will heal me or make me feel better, at least. And then in my late 20s, early 30s, my grandma died on my hands. And you will maybe think, well, that's not a big deal. She's only a grandma. But she lived with me, and she was like a second mother. And being like I am, I was having my first epilepsy attack 2 days after that, and then one after another. And I was treated in Zagreb, Croatia, for 2 months, being in hospital. When I came back to Banja Luka, I was really, really depressed and really drugged of all these medicines they were giving me. I was barely speaking for a year, not because I was depressed, it's because of the drugs they were giving me. I was like barely walking, and it was hard. And then depression, hospital, once, twice, I was lost. But hospitals are like firemen. We must have hospitals. But I was thinking, in my case, hospital was like firemen. I was the house who was on fire, burning, and they put a lot of water. The fire was over, but what's the house after fire? It's ruined. It's devastated, even when the fire is gone. My fire was gone. They gave me strong pills. We were talking. I was there twice, and both times for 15 days. That's a practice in Bosnia and Herzegovina in their hospitals, in our hospitals. 15 days, each one of you. Schizophrenic, psychosis, depressed, anxious. We're all staying for 15 days. That's a standard. Maybe sometimes it's not enough. Somebody is suicidal, still suicidal. I have a friend who tried to kill himself maybe less than a month ago. He was in hospital for 15 days. Okay, but what then? It was not enough. But the situation has changed when I decided to come to Citizen Association together and participate first as a member, then as a person who is like activist and doing some trainings and stuff. So we have those like musical therapy. We sing, we perform, we draw, we write, we play sports. We are having individual and group psychotherapies. It's all for free. We are having lunch. We are traveling. And there's one thing that's being back to me since I'm in Citizen Association together. I lost all my roles when I was bad, when I was feeling depressed. I lost the role of good aunt, a role of somebody who can work and function, a role of good member of society, functional member of society, a role of functional emotional partner. I lost them all. I had no role. I had no self-esteem, and I had no love for myself. And maybe you'll be surprised with those words that I'm going to say now, But yes, you can learn to love yourself. I'm never discouraging people with like, you love yourself or not. It's not something that you can be taught. Yes, you can. I'm a living example. And in Bosnia, there are a lot of living examples like me. I'm just one of the voices of those examples from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yes, you can teach to love yourself. You can learn to love yourself and to respect yourself. So in association, my self-esteem and my love to myself were like being here, back. I get my roles. I'm a great auntie. I'm functioning in my family. I had a lot of stigma from my family, my dad and my mom and my sister. I have one problem with one relative. I still have that problem with my sister. My mom and dad, they were like, don't go to public. You're a little happy girl. Are you sure that you're depressed? Are you sure that you're lonely? You have us. Are you sure that you have to cry? And all those questions. And I was saying yesterday on this lovely dinner, I was standing in front of my parents and I was saying, do you believe that I'm epileptic? And they were like, yes. Why? Is it because I said? No, it's because we see it. You're like shaking, you're out of conscience. And I was like, then you believe I have epilepsy because you can see it. But you cannot see the depression. That's the problem. But if you could see it, my body, if depression could have these physical manifestations, my body will be all in bleeding wounds. I will be bleeding all over my body. If that can be shown on my body. It will be all open wounds. And they were like, we will take that under consideration. Good sentence, okay. But they were living a dream, like, she's our little happy girl. Yes, I was, long time ago. But when I was having those interviews and I was in TV shows, and there was one good TV show, on national television. And they called me and they were like, you'll be the first one ever on our television who's speaking openly about depression. And I was like, yes, I want to do that. It was a prime time and it's very watched and stuff like that. And one lady called studio and said to me, young lady, this is a shame. You should be ashamed. Those are the topics we're not talking about. You should leave that in your own four walls. That's Bosnia. That's Croatia, that's Serbia, that's maybe in Switzerland. I'm not saying, wow, we're the worst. You have it also. It's French, it's Germany, we have it all. So my parents were like getting softer and getting into like some materials and reading about depression and anxiety, and they accepted. My sister never did. I have this rock that I'm still like doing this with the hammer, and it's not giving results, but I think that rock is I'm gonna break it sometimes, somehow, maybe like we were talking with the help of professionals. I will not leave that rock just to be there. And so society is now different. I mean institutions, because of the project of mental health and your support, institutions are now much more connected. So after hospital, we are not left alone anymore like I was back in the years. We have a connection between hospitals, Center for Mental Health, Citizen Association, social services. Now we are not left to the system like go from institution to institution, and now we're not being left to our families. My family is functional. Imagine how hard it will be in dysfunctional family, how hard it will be. So I was getting my roles back, and do you know how I was healed? The recipe, this is my recipe. I was saying to my psychiatrist and psychologist, okay, the meds are here, okay, we will change that later. I'm putting the healthy part of me and giving it to you. You put your magic, your knowledge. You professionals, you give me psychotherapy, you give me the speak, the talks, exercises. I will put the healthy part of me, and we will all together help the not so healthy part of me. We will all fight pathology in me. So there's no magic, I don't know, pill. There's no magic stick. There's no, you help me and I'm not going to do anything about it. No. So first step is I'm giving you this healthy part, and let's go and fight. So now we're having citizen association, now we're having help and support of project of mental health. It's much more different than 10 years ago, than 5 years ago, and it's getting better in Bosnia and Herzegovina about the institutions. Stigma and discrimination will always be there. We will have to change our point of view. Well, we are not always what we are educated for. I am a lawyer, and I'm started working as a lawyer again after 5 years in one lawyer's office in 3 days from now. But this is my mission, and this is not what was I educated for. This is what my experience gave me. So I saw something on social media, because I don't want to steal stuff and to say they're mine. I'm just gonna explain it. There's a flower, and it was like small, and there was rain, and it was all dark, like flower was sad. And then flower grew, there was sun, and it says like, I didn't want this, but I needed this. So I'm gonna end this speech. It was whole improvisation. I'm never preparing my speeches. I'm always like this, being honest and sincere and spontaneous. So I don't know, I think maybe you'll get some message that I'm giving you. So this is definitely not what I wanted, depression, anxiety, and all that, but it's definitely something I needed to grow and to be a better person, to myself and then to others. Now I love myself and respect myself, and the others are feeling consequences of that because I'm able to love them and I'm able to respect them. It's not a floskel, it's just like that. And there's a song of Emily Sandé. I know maybe young people know it, read all about it. And she's saying, I want to scream, I want to shout, I'm saying, fight till my dry grow out, something like this. And this is who I am. I want to scream, I want to shout about mental health issues and problems. So, you have been all such a lovely audience. I was watching some faces, and you're being like, some of you were smiling, some of you were like emotional. Vera, I can see you. It's been an honor. I will thank all of you for inviting me here. I haven't traveled for a long time. I was saying that because I had those problems. And even now I'm fighting my demon anxiety, but I think I did it somehow, some way. So thank you, merci, for being such a lovely audience, for listening. If you have any questions, I'll be available later on this not so formal part of convention. Thank you.
thank you very much for sharing with us your living experience. Well, last but not least, j'ai l'honneur aussi maintenant de devoir introduire le professeur Norman Sartorius. Mais je pense que la plupart d'entre vous doivent déjà les connaître. Donc, je ne sais pas si j'ai besoin de dire les 10 pages de son CV, mais j'aimerais quand même juste vous dire qu'il a été le premier directeur de la division de santé mentale de l'Organisation mondiale de la santé, président de l'Association psychiatrique européenne et président aussi de l'Association mondiale de psychiatrie. Et que nous avons eu la chance, l'immense chance de pouvoir compter sur lui pour ce projet, de nous accompagner depuis déjà quelques années pour tous les volets des projets en relation surtout avec la discrimination, l'exclusion sociale et la lutte contre la stigmatisation des patients. Professeur Sartorius, vous avez la parole.
Thank you very much for inviting me to come here. I want to start by congratulating Switzerland because it's one of the countries in Europe which has done most for mental health in other countries. It is sad that diseases which produce 40% of all disability in the world are treated in the way that they are treated, and that most of international help in fact never touches psychiatry, mental disorders, or problems of that kind. 4 years ago, the United Nations have decided that they would think about non-communicable diseases. They say we have now dealt with the communicable diseases to an extent, we are now going to deal with non-communicable diseases. Cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular illness, obstructive pulmonary diseases, heavy, difficult conditions. And they went and discussed it for 2 days in New York. And on the second day, a representative from Uganda said, but what are you doing about mental disorders? What about neurological disorders? What about epilepsy, Parkinsonism, schizophrenia? They produce 50% of all disability in the world, and you're not touching them? So with great difficulty, in the report of 70 pages, there is one sentence that have been inserted in the United Nations, which says, mental disorders and neurological disorders, as well as Alzheimer's disease, can also produce problems. I mean, this is representatives of 129 countries which have put it forward and 190 countries which have accepted this nonsense. Well, fortunately, about 4 months ago, there was an occasion that things changed a little bit. The United Nations have agreed on Sustainable Development Goal, and for the first time in the history of the United Nations, mental health has become a priority, one of the priorities. And they now speak about not 4 major diseases, but 5. They've added mental disorders with great reluctance. But the reluctance at the United Nations is also true in Europe. It is extremely rare that one finds that a country is in fact willing to help other countries by giving them help in the field of mental health. And that's why I think that the role of Switzerland is extremely useful. They've been helping people in Moldova to build a program, in Ukraine, in Bosnia, and I believe also before that in Croatia and in various other countries. So, congratulations. Now, I will talk a little bit about my time with my colleagues in Bosnia. But before I do so, I would like to say that Bosnia is probably one of the least explored parts of Europe. If you ask any one of the people, tell me 2 towns in Bosnia. Sarajevo maybe because of the Olympics, and the skiing terrains, but others, well, not really. And when Nicolas was a minute ago rattling off the towns, there was many towns that he mentioned. Not many of them, I think, have been very well known to other people. And yet, it's a country of extraordinary beauty, with a tremendous, wonderful set of forests, but also a number of other natural beauties which you cannot imagine, and people who meet this, the same kind of threat. The history of Bosnia is also extraordinary. While everybody in Europe was still not quite sure where they belong, Bosnia was such a safe state that the countries such as the big republics, the maritime republics, were preserving money in Bosnia because it was the only place where money could be safely stored. It was a strongest mining industry in the whole of Europe at the time of the 5th, 6th, and 7th century. And then I think it's perhaps useful to remember that. It was also developing into a country of some importance and significance, but then came the Turkish invasion, and for 400 years Bosnia was under what I would call an Ottoman cloud, invisible to the rest of Europe, and somehow seen as the border which separates Europe from the Turks. And I think that in many ways has been something that has been present in maybe reduced the size. And then I think came the Austrian time, and although the Austrian occupation and later annexation of Bosnia was short, it left profound influence on the field of Bosnia. Then came, of course, Yugoslavia, and the time when Bosnia was basically considered and mentioned as being the fortress of Yugoslavia, the time when Russia and various of its allies have been very much against Yugoslavia at the time. Bosnia was seen as the fortress into which people could possibly withdraw if the attacks that were visible at the time, or that were announced at the time, would to happen. And then more recently, I think I don't need to speak to you about the impacts of terrible wars and sieges, and the longest siege in the history, I think much longer than the siege of Leningrad during the Second World War, was the siege of Sarajevo. Many other terrible things that were happening in that war: genocide, crime, economic crisis, you name it. Now, mental health and care has been sharing the style of psychiatric care in the rest of Yugoslavia. The main thing was that they would have mental hospitals, and in the mental hospitals there was relatively few beds. Many of the patients have been exported to other countries around, to Bosnia, from Bosnia into Croatia, or into Serbia, or into Macedonia. Some of them left there. But there were also extraordinary examples of outstanding service. While I was at the World Health Organization, we were examining services in different parts of Europe. And without any doubt, a hospital which was established in Modrica, which is a small town on the border between Serbia and Bosnia, was undoubtedly the best psychiatric service in the whole of Europe. The director at the hospital at the time was only accepting patients who have been somewhere else for more than 8 years. Some of you may not understand what that means, to be 8 years in a mental hospital. But it's a state in which not only has the disease has its effect, but the long-term terrible pressure of living in an institution, very often under cruel conditions. And yet, the Modrica hospital was accepting these people, making them work again. They were going home. It was an extraordinary example. I was bringing people down there to see. And there were other examples of people doing outstandingly good work. Now, the Swiss-supported innovations in Bosnia have been very interesting. One was the establishment of the mental health centers, which have been mentioned by Dr. Hrelja. These are centers which are supposed to take on the role of the ambassador of mental health care, and in a way not only organize the mental health care in communities, but also provide care for a variety of conditions in a link perhaps to more long-term treatment opportunities. It has developed a variety of association of users, also mentioned by Dr. Hrelja. It has done a few, not many, unfortunately not many, public health-inspired investigations. For example, an investigation of the ways in which people who have a mental disorder get to doctors. It's a very interesting proposition to examine this, because you see that every country has a different style of pathways in which people get to doctors. Another study was also done to see to what an extent is the image of the family, and a variety of other studies have been started and done during that time. And then there is the whole range of anti-stigma activities that have been described by Dr. Hrelja, or mentioned by Dr. Hrelja. Gradually, I think, it was also becoming visible that stigma is, without any doubt, the #1 obstacle to improving mental health care, not only in Bosnia but worldwide. And therefore, a concentration on changing people's behavior and changing people's attitude is of tremendous importance. There was also a variety of changes examining the legislation, examining the other things that were recording, ways in which administration was conducted. All of these programs have been going on, as well as a little bit of a Swiss introduction of Swiss ways of running places, which was not the thing that is most easily introduced in a country like Bosnia. But there is a number of problems. There is no tradition of free associations in Bosnia. In all over Europe, in particular in Protestant parts of Europe, the associations creep up all the time. There is an association, voluntary groups, little groups are meeting together, they are doing music, the others are doing something else. To create a group in the rest of Europe is relatively easy, and there are unbelievable numbers of them, related and brought together by the same interest, or by the wish to do something together, or by inclination, or by hobby, or by other thing. That is not the tradition that has been present in Bosnia. Neither in Bosnia nor in many of the other countries that have been under the Turkish influence. It is not been seemly to do this. So the only traditional associations have been that women usually in winter would get together on a regular basis, larger groups, and they would do some housework and talk a little bit. But that was all that was happening in terms of association. So the notion to establish associations which will carry mental health program has been revolutionary for Bosnia. Unusual, impossible to do anywhere else. It was done by skillfully using also a little bit of support, thinking about ways of creating a spot where people who were mentally ill and subsequently left mental hospitals but were homeless and had nowhere to go could get together and gradually get to know each other and start talking to one another and learning how to be with other people. And so that happened. The other problem that has been there, in addition to the absence of this tradition of association, is the hypertrophy of administration because of the division of Bosnia into the Republika Srpska and the part that was mentioned. Practically all of the practically all of the administrative posts have at least twice as many officials as they should have because of that division that exists. Everybody knows it, but it's a problem that exists and that is very difficult because every decision that has to be made by consultation with various bodies. It's not easy to do it when you have to consult 3 people every time and 2 of them have an interest which is different from the third one. Then there is also Austro-Hungarian influence. Not only have they left the yellow color on all postal offices and on hospitals, they've also left influence in the way in which services are organized. The Austro-Hungarian tradition running medical institutions, there is a doctor who is the director and he decides on everything. And everybody else has to listen, and it's the hospital which will carry the services. And that, I think, to an extent is opposite to what one would like to see in a more modern mental hospital or mental institution, in which more than one person participates in the management of the institution, more than one person thinks about innovations that could be done. And then there is, of course, another problem is the reflection of countries' overall problems. If you have a country in which 45% of the people are unemployed, it's extremely difficult to employ a person who just finished his treatment for schizophrenia. It's not easy to do it, because people will take somebody who's healthy, they say. Although it is extremely likely that the person who was in a mental hospital would work much better, because he wants to prove himself. But it's not only on that side, it's also on the other side. Doctors as such, instead of instilling and start inspiring people to start believing in themselves, they continue treating them. Treatment is important, but it's just part of the story. It's returning people faith into themselves, which is a crucially important thing. People can do something then. Well, all of these are traditions, and I think which probably also have to be taken into account in thinking what to do for the future. Now, one thing that has to be taken into account, it will not happen immediately. If Switzerland is willing to think about the next 3 years, I think a 0 next to the 3 would be nice. Making it 30 would be a much better proposition. Maybe that's a bit too much, but I'm certain that it would be a longer period of work will be necessary to gradually bring up and build these services into it. I think, however, also locally, it would be very important to think, to examine the 8 years of work. I think that that was done to an extent last year, but I think a continuous examination of things that worked and others that did not work. Some of the innovations that Bosnia has produced are marvelous and could be not only useful for Bosnia, but also useful for the rest of the European countries. Others, on the other hand, could very well be abandoned. I think that there will be a number of new problems that now arise, problems which are of different kinds, and in a way, one would have to think of a different style of doing mental health programs for the future, not only in Bosnia, but everywhere. And I think also it will probably be necessary to simplify the method of evaluation and think of criteria and indicators of success which are not administrative but simple. How many people have got employed? If nobody's got employed, it's very difficult to say that we have achieved a great deal. How many people have managed to get home and do something? It's a fact, and it's changes that are concrete that probably one should seek. Bosnia has been one of the countries in which much of the changes have been planned after an intensive period of focus group investigations, in which groups of people were brought together and asked to discuss what could be done and how, and it worked very well. And I think that focus groups will probably indicate a change of the directions of the program as well. Now, continuing with helping people who are mentally ill will be important. Continuing to find solutions for the people that Dr. Hrelja mentioned, people who sit now in social institutions, but sit there because there is no place to go rather than for any other reason. They have no place. But in addition, I think that there will be a necessity to introduce also something that would be an innovation, which is the preventive activities for mental disorders. I'm enchanted by the young psychiatrists in Bosnia, young psychologists, young nurses. It's an amazing group of people. I've done some courses with them, and I had an occasion to meet them personally. They are marvelous people. But they are like many young people in other parts of the world, not really getting the best of treatment. It's the sort of way they are considered as being, at best, people who should do the work, and not people who can build a career and maybe build and grow and lead. There is no leadership training which they should be given. And maybe that would be an emphasis that could be given in the future in the program. And probably one also thinks that would be necessary. There is still in Bosnia at present a lot of strong sources that could do a great deal but work in separation. And I think to think about ways in which one could bring together not only the health services, but also the school services and the religious and the various other people will be a challenge that sits before the program in the next few years. I feel privileged that have been able to go there and help a little bit in the program. I'm full of admiration for people who work there, and I want to repeat how much I respect and admire the role of Switzerland in this respect. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup. Nous sommes à 8h10. On avait prévu un peu moins, mais je crois que toutes les présentations ont été vraiment d'un niveau et tellement intense que je pense que maintenant, on va quand même se donner 10 minutes, un quart d'heure pour réagir, pour des questions, pour des commentaires, en sachant qu'après, on aura une petite verrée dans laquelle tous les intervenants seront aussi là. Donc, vous pourrez aussi discuter après d'une façon un peu plus informelle. Mais là, il y a un micro qui va passer. Donc, s'il y a des réactions, des questions, n'hésitez pas à vous adresser à nos intervenants. Pas de réaction. Okay.
We have a question for you. How are you feeling today?
Good.
Une question peut-être, est-ce que le projet est présent dans toutes les ethnies de Bosnie? Et dans ce cas-là, comment est-ce qu'on arbitre les éventuelles réticences de certains groupes ethniques par rapport à l'aide à d'autres groupes? J'ai observé ça en faisant un reportage en Bosnie il y a 20 ans, et c'était très problématique. Est-ce que ça s'est arrangé maintenant?
Well, yeah, I think you are the one who knows better
the reality. Oh, maybe I can invite Professor Sartorius, who could have perhaps an objective view, but before that, yeah, before that, on my part, I can say that the project is present in the entire Bosnia and Herzegovina. As you could see, it consists of two entities, two administrative groups, but reaching all and every community in Bosnia and Herzegovina as much as it is possible. It's really challenging, as you are asking, because not many projects actually work throughout the country in the same way, in the same and that have the same approach. But also, I think that it was also thanks to the approach of Switzerland, also of SDC as well, who always insisted that it is one country and it is one project. And although some events happen at two places and two capitals, Banja Luka and Sarajevo, we have not experienced any tensions, and you might expect because people get together. As for some associations of people with mental health problems, some of them from Banja Luka prefer to come to Sarajevo for some important events and vice versa. So I cannot say that any tension is really visible today.
Seulement ajouter, tous les programmes qui existent pour le moment sont en effet peut-être, ils sont faits par un mélange des personnes de deux ethnies et de trois ethnies. Et comme ça, ils ont réussi à trouver un moyen de se comprendre, de collaborer ensemble. C'était pas facile, et je pense que ça coûte beaucoup d'argent pour le faire dans une manière qui est acceptable. ce serait beaucoup plus simple. Ce serait une seule ethnie qui fait le programme. Pas facile.
Peut-être encore un point. Donc, dès le départ, en fait, quand on a commencé en 1997, c'était, comme disait Dženita, c'était un projet, en fait, pour toute la Bosnie, même s'il se déclinait, en fait, avec des petites variations par entité, parce qu'on devait suivre la dynamique des ministères de la Santé, mais de toujours amener les gens, en fait, quelle que soit leur origine, à un endroit. Puis ces endroits changeaient au fur et à mesure. Et ce qu'on a constaté, c'est que dans le domaine de la santé, les médecins, quelle que soit leur provenance, leur ethnie, les infirmières, pareil, ils partagent les mêmes problèmes et les mêmes craintes, en fait, si vous voulez. Et le fait de les mettre ensemble, ça permettait en quelque sorte une émulation et peut-être on pourrait même dire une réunification, en fait, dans ce secteur de la santé, qui est un secteur qui a beaucoup souffert de la guerre. Donc, on n'a eu que des expériences positives d'avoir des approches, en fait, des synergies par rapport à ces entités et ces origines différentes.
J'aurais une question sur l'état psychiatrique. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire, sans rentrer dans les détails, comment vous évaluez les effets de la guerre sur la santé mentale en Bosnie-Herzégovine aujourd'hui?
Wars are an enormous stress for everybody. And people who have been in war very often will suffer very badly, particularly those who maybe have been a little more vulnerable, very often can break down under this. Now, the recent years have seen, however, the introduction of a new syndrome, which is the post-traumatic stress disorder. It has been done in a way by the United States of America for many of the soldiers who came back from war and who needed a pension for the terrible thing which they passed through, and there was no other recognition. So that as time went by, however, the concept of PTSD, or concept of post-traumatic stress disorder, expanded its limits. So that while it is undoubtedly true that people who went through war or who go through other terrible events, some of them will break down and will need treatment and will need help, etc. There have been others who have prolonged their state because suddenly their disease became their manner of sustenance. The people who have a post-traumatic stress disorder, for example, in Croatia, get a pension for it, and if they lose the disease, they lose the pension. Very difficult to treat somebody if you know that if you get him better, he will be without any means of sustenance. So that there is and I don't want to accuse the people who are doing this, because some of them, in fact, have gradually built themselves into a disease which is now lasting and very difficult to get out of. It takes a tremendous amount of effort really to get people to change, and to change governments as well, to right that. Having said that, I think that the war, like the one in Bosnia, has created a tremendous amount of mental stress, disorder, and difficulties. But that's different from what I'm talking about when I speak about the pensionable PTSD.
If I can say something regarding that subject, there are also us who are civilians, very young people, like me, my sister, and the rest of the young people. But I can also say, my psychiatrist said, you have like PTSD like a civilian. I'm talking about a lot of subjects very calmly, like depression about losing my grandma, epilepsy, but I'm always giving like fast heartbeats when it comes to war. Even now, that's why I'm mumbling like this, because that subject is very sensitive, and I didn't know how much it affected my life till the psychotherapy. And then when we were analyzing my life, the war was like a big kick for us civilians, even kids who were not on battlefields.
Maybe one other contribution to just follow that has been the decision of the United Nations has been what to do with the victims of the Kuwait invasion. At that time, there was a number of people who came forward with requesting compensations. And it was decided that they will be offered treatment for their problems for as long as necessary. And that they will also be recognized for their contribution in a most honest way. But they will not be given a pension for their disease. Now, that is a different proposition. You are recognizing that the person has merit, and you recognize that he has problems, but you do not make it a cause for pensioning. And I think it has been, in Kuwait at least, extremely positive. And in many countries, one would have to be, I think it would be wiser to wait this way, to offer the people who need it all the treatment they need for as long as necessary. But at the same time, to give them a chance to start again, rather than to be dependent for their sustenance on what they get as a pension.
Well, my name is Matthias Kerker. I'm a consultant in health policy, etc. And I would like to take the floor only quickly because in 2008, with Nicolas, we were in Bosnia-Herzegovina for a fact-finding mission for STC. And that was the starting point, maybe not completely, but that was the starting point of this project. And it was an interesting project because of this collaboration with the cantons, because this was not very usual for STC, no? And so it was a relatively longer process to make it happen finally. And so I'm of course very happy to see how the outcome of this project, and very nice results. I was just about 2-3 months ago again in Bosnia-Herzegovina for STC, for a consultancy again, for the risk reduction project. They have a big project there, reducing health risk factors, is it called. And of course there are a lot of interlinks between these health projects down there in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And now I have two questions. One is, the problem of priorities in health is something very tremendous. We heard about, well, 40% of the burden of diseases, mental health, etc. in Bosnia. Of course, we hear other figures sometimes. Well, there is about cardiovascular diseases, about the tobacco problem, etc., etc. What to do? And how to use all these resources, etc. And what finally, and that is my basic question now to you, the question is, this project started 10 years ago. What is, at a certain moment, the role of a bilateral agency in sustaining such things, sustaining these projects? Shall it continue endlessly? We finance, and okay, or how strategically we continue? And that was a little bit mentioned by you, Professor. What should be the future, not? Is it still this training of the nurses? Is it still the maintenance of these mental health centers, etc.? All what is done now, or shall this slowly be the role of the countries, of the responsibility of the health ministers, etc.? And shall then the project focus on some new strategic orientation? So, how this project thinks to continue? I have looked at something which is very close to this project, that is the training of family doctors and family nurses in Bosnia-Herzegovina through STC, and of course Nicolas knows this very well. there again there is the demand of the government. Well, continue to train, to do this. We have now 70%, and there are 30% we need to train, etc. Is this really the role of the bilateral agency to simply sponsor and kind of subsidize what the role should be of the state? Or shall we simply say, now it's over, you know how to do, now it's your role? So it's interesting, this overlapping strategic questions, mental health and basically primary health care, etc. Maybe you have some comments on it.
Yes, thank you very much for your question. Actually, the answer is very simple. The project is ending in 3 years, so it's going to be the end of it. The end of the support of the bilateral support. But from the beginning, the project design was very careful to include this efficiency and also sustainability, those two big words. But what it really means for the project is that all these trainings that you've mentioned have been done, the trainings have been done in a sustainable way, in a way through the faculties, through the already established university level institutions, for example, that will continue, that have benefited from the program that was developed and continued. For example, occupational therapy is going to continue at 2 faculties. There are new students enrolled, and it is not supported by SDC at all. So that's one of the things. Community mental health services are regular services, primary healthcare services that existed. Half of them existed before the project, and none of them was opened with the funds from the SDC. But they are so to say, regular health institutions. There was no parallel institutions created under the project. And what they received from SDC was actually training to how to introduce these innovative services. And it was also done as training of trainers. So what was left after that was this big group of professionals who continued training and supervising their colleagues, peer supervision, without actually being supported by additional extra funds outside from the funds from the health budget. So many interventions, just to mention, I have just mentioned a few of them, have been created with that in mind. The end goal is for these innovative services to be so well established as a part of practice, to be included in the regulations so that they are obligatory. To be also as standards for accreditation, standards of good practice, so that they continue. But for them to continue, they needed to be supported for a number of years. So what we all are hoping, not only us from the project, but also the government and the professionals, is to have at least a number of these innovative services well established, well practiced through the regular institutions, mental health communities, and to have these kind of critical mass of professionals and also mental health people with experience of mental health services who will not go back to doing as they were before the project. So I'm not saying that all of the interventions, that all that has been done through the projects will continue without the bilateral support. But there is a high level of commitment by the government to use the resources that they have to actually support this level of achievement that has been reached. Thank you.
Ça sera le mot de la fin.
No, just to say that I think it is fair to establish how long a particular activity needs to be going on before the money is given, and to say in advance it will be a 6-year project. Because we now have experience which is sufficient to judge that doing such and such a thing will last so and so long. What I feel is unfair is to start a program which will last longer and fund it only for a piece of the time, or vice versa, keep prolonging programs which could have been finished at a given time. I think it's that experience that you and many other people have. It is clear how long a thing lasts. You may be wrong for a year, but not for much more. You will know that such and such a thing needs support for 5 years. If you cannot give it for 5 years, better not start. And equally so, if it's given for 5 years, it's a 5-year program. That would be what I think would be a sensible way of going about it, so that it's not an endless story coming back and back and back and back. It's probably the wrong planning from the beginning.
If I just end that mental health project is ending in 2022, so that's the definite date.
Et pour les cantons, les 4 cantons, c'est fini en 2018. Donc, toutes les formations, tout le travail qui a déjà été fait, c'est fini. Depuis 2010 jusqu'à 2018, on ne va pas continuer parce que vraiment, il y a un bon partenariat sur place. Les activités continuent et la coopération suisse continue encore jusqu'à 2022. Et nous, on va continuer autour d'un verre parce qu'on a un peu dépassé les temps. Je vais surtout remercier nos intervenants, nos 4 intervenants, pas seulement pour la présentation, mais surtout pour les qualités de travail. Et j'aimerais aussi remercier, et je vous demande s'il vous plaît de s'applaudir, pour les traducteurs, pour les traducteurs qui ont fait ça d'une façon vraiment bénévole.